Okay, so today we're going to do fractions as percentages, but this time they're going to be written a little bit differently. So who was the more accurate out of someone who shot 17 goals out of 23 shots or 13 goals out of 19 shots? Because they're not the same number of shots, it's very hard to actually say who was more accurate. That's why we go to percent, because it's out of 100. So we just make it a standard out of 100 or percentage, and then we can compare different fractions or different quantities. So the first example is if I had 23 out of 40, and in the textbook it will be written as express the first value as a fraction of the second value. So they'll write it as 23, 40 in brackets. So if I had 100%, how many goals or marks or whatever it is, how many would I have actually scored to get 100%? Can you see that it would have been 40? I would have had to have gotten 40 out of 40 to get 100%. But what did I actually get? Well, I actually got, see, I'm going to be out there. What did I actually get? Well, I actually got 23. It's probably actually closer to half, isn't it? So let's, 23. So what I'm saying is 23 out of 40 as a percentage. So my percentage will be here. So then you've got to ask yourself, okay, which side is the one on? On the left or on the right? Which one do I have two values that I could actually work something out on? Can you see that it's the left? So now I say to myself, where do I start? Do I start here or do I start here? I'll have to start at the top because that's where I've got my two values. So I can go from 40 to 1. And how do I go from 40 to 1? Well, it has to be 40 divided by 40 equals 1. And how do I go up to the 23? Well, I have to go 1 times 23 to get there. So my percentage will be, oh hang on, I'm going to do the same on the other side, sorry. So let's do the same on the other side. So I have to start here and I go 100, and I'm going to divide by 40. And then I'm going to multiply by 23. So my percentage is, when I write it out, my percentage is, let's follow the arrows backwards, there on the green one and up on the blue one. I started with 100. What did I do to it? The blue line says divide by 40, so that's what I do. And the green line says multiply by 23. Now you can use your calculator to work that out, or you can simplify the fractions, but it is going to be a yucky number. So we can leave it as well, I could cancel, so I could do that and that. How many times does 2 go into that? 5. How many times does 2 go into that? 2. So 5 lots of 23 over 2. 5 lots of 20 is 100. 5 lots of 3 is 15. So it's 115 divided by 2, which equals 57.5. So 57.5% is what the fraction 23 out of 40 is. So now I've just got a common base of 100, and that's how I did it. Let's have a look at another example. This time express 35 out of 30 as a percentage. So 35 out of 30, you're already thinking to yourself, well, the top's bigger than the bottom, so it must be bigger than 100%. So if I was looking at my double number line, I have to say for a start, well, where's the 100%? Well, it's not going to be on the top because I've got to go bigger than the top. So let's go 100%. So, yep. And if I got 100%, what would my score have been? What would I have to get 100? So 100%. I would have had to have scored 30. But what did I actually score? 35. So there's my percentage that I'd like to know. So unless you happen to know how to get from 30 to 35, we can't do it that way, or you can, but I don't know exactly the number, so, well, let's work it out. So, which side am I going to do the 1 on? The left or the right? It has to be the left. Where do I start? At the top or the bottom? Well, I don't know the values here, that's what I'm trying to work out, so I have to start here. So I can work out the 1 here. How did I go from 30 to 1? I divided by 30. How did I go from 1 to 35? I multiplied by 35. So I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. 100 divided by 30 and then times by 35. So my percentage is, let's follow the arrows, my percentage is let's follow the arrows back. Sorry, let's go backwards this way. So I started with 100. What did I do to it? I divided it by 30 and then I timesed it by 35. Now you can use your calculator and work out what that is. It's actually, let's cancel some numbers. That can cancel with that. So I've got 10 times 35, which is 350, divided by 3. And if you used your calculator, I think that works out to be 1.16. So see how it's bigger than 1? So that's the percent. Oh, hang on, I'll write that a bit better. 1.16%. So you can use your calculator to work that out. But if you look and see the pattern, there's your original fraction. 35 out of 30 times by 100. So when you start to see the pattern, you may not need to use the double number lines, but that's okay. The last example is basically to show you that the units for each of the quantities must be the same. So here I've got 40 cents out of $5. So I'm actually going to say, well, do I want to make them both into cents or do I want to make them both into dollars? It doesn't matter which way you go, but they both have to be the same. So I'm going to say that $5 is 500 cents, and I'm going to go from there. So 40 cents out of 500 cents is actually 40 out of 500, okay? That's the fraction, 40 out of 500. So if you had 100%, you would have had $5 or 500 cents. So 100% on this side. But what have you actually got? You've actually got 40. And you would like to know what percentage that is. So, where do I start? Which side do I do the 1 on? Is it on the left or on the right? Well, I've got two values on the left, so that's where my 1 is. Do I start at the top or at the bottom? Well, I can't start where this this section is, because I don't know both values, I must have to start up here. So let's start. How do I go from 500 to 1? Well, it has to be a divide by 500. How do I go from 1 to 40? Must be times 40. And so I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. This side goes divide by 500, and then I go multiply by 40. So my percentage is, let's follow the arrows back. My percentage is 100 divided by 500. Oops, sorry. 100 divided by 500 multiplied by 40. So you could simplify that. Let's simplify So I've actually got 40 out of 5, which is 8%. How many 5s are there in 40? 8. So 40 out of 40 cents out of 500 cents is 8%. Make sure you have the same units.